They're not prosthetics. They're my bones. They come out when I'm inspired. They've always been inside of me, but I have been waiting for the right time to reveal to the universe who I truly am, Lady Gaga.
Look at this. Look at this. You don't even know what this is. They got you. Shout out to the bully. Y'all gotta understand that this is getting deep. You know what this is? This is the first interview inside of the so-called metaverse. Do you know what's happening?
Is NASA rooted in Satanism? Well, I was just scrolling around one day and I realized that NASA has done something on July 16th every year since the Apollo 11 mission, and maybe even before then. But you ever wonder that T- thing you hear before the rocket launches? Maybe it's just Satan minus the T? That's NASA?
Well, it certainly has been an interesting last few millennium. With this whole infiltrate the upper echelon of human society and manipulate them into destroying each other. Now, we might have just gone a little heavy on the political realm. Oh my God, and a little sucky, you know. Who knew that social media was gonna work? That was brilliant. Everyone too wrapped up in cat videos and sending to procreate instead of think with their brains.
Happy holidays to my entire highly motivated family. Thank you for taking time out of this crazy, hectic week before Christmas to hang out with me. We have a pretty packed show, so I'm not going to waste any more time and we are going to dive right in. So I'm not sure if you have heard, but the very first interview to ever take place in the metaverse has happened. This gentleman has some interesting things to say about that and also ties it in to the creation story. So this is definitely worth a listen.
Look at this. Look at this. You don't even know what this is. They got you. Shout out to the bully. Y'all gotta understand that this is getting deep. You know what this is?
That's not real.
This is the first interview inside of the so-called metaverse. Do you know what's happening? To really understand what's going on, let me tell you a story, right? A story that all of you think you know, but those who listen until the end will understand what many do not know. There's a story about a man and a woman, the story of Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve was created in the Garden of Eden. Now, one day a snake comes, and this serpent tells them to eat of the one tree within the Garden of Eden that God told them not to eat. Now remember, Adam and Eve are living a pretty good life. Everything's easy, there's no work, it's just chilling. They just have to watch over the garden as long as they don't eat this one thing that the serpent says to eat. Well, the woman eats it, and then the man eats it. And God finds them covering themselves, realizing that they were naked after the act. And God says, because you have eaten of this fruit, you are cursed. You cannot live in the Garden of Eden. You cannot eat of the tree of life. And you must till the fields and work the grounds. And you must eat bread until you are dust. And that was their punishment. But here's the part that y'all don't know. Adam means man. Eve means life. The story is about the beginning of human life. Adam and Eve live off of the abundance of God in the Garden of Eden. Naked, one with nature, they are hunter-gatherers. They don't teach all this in Bible study. They don't teach all this. The serpent is coming from outside, and he's trying to civilize them. And what he does is he offers that fruit of the knowledge that is good and evil, good and evil. The knowledge of growing your own food. How do we know this? Well, God says, because you have done this, you will what? Till the fields, work the lands, eat of the bread. They're describing agriculturalists. And the way that we know that is, after agriculture comes cities. Cain is in the Bible, is the founder of cities. He's the first one ever to build a city. And then eventually what happens? Babylon is built. Babylon is a metaphor for the matrix, which is civilization. That's right. And the Garden of Eden is your natural environment. You got to understand that the matrix comes out of agriculture, which depletes the land, right? It's the great devourer. Matrix comes from the word matre, which means womb. A matrix is a good thing. An inverted matrix is a bad thing. An inverted matrix, instead of sustaining you like a womb would so that you could be free, an inverted matrix, it takes from you.
Wow.
So that you can always depend on it. So it can take from you some more. That's what you live in. That's the society you live in.
It is,
It
exactly.
depletes the farms. It depletes the environment. You got to cut the trees. You got to not destroy biodiversity. And then what comes next? The Industrial Revolution. And not only are they taking more resources from the earth with the Industrial Revolution, but they are associating your purpose with a job and telling you to live your purpose, you must work a job. Right?
Right.
Which takes you further into the matrix. It makes you depend on it even more. Now you don't even hunt for your food. You don't grow your food. You don't know how to get it. If something was to happen to the matrix of civilization, you will crumble. So now you work hard to keep it alive. Right? And then what happens next? What happens next? Well, then the matrix eventually creates a virtual reality. That's why it's always trying to tell you that you're already in one. That you're already in a simulated reality. Because once it convinces you to upload your mind, which is what they're aiming for, these billionaires are spending billions of dollars creating these virtual realities. You gotta know that. But here's what you didn't know. If you don't believe me about the virtual reality, is the next step, right? And where they're ultimately taking you. I'll ask you this question. When you know that forbidden fruit of the matrix that started the matrix, right, is normally regarded to be an apple. You tell me what company that's creating a virtual reality right now, it's not Facebook, has a bitten apple as its icon. If you can tell me that, if you know the answer to that question, then you are ready for this book called Fans, Food, Forest, Foraging, Hunting, Anti-Fragile Modern Society. This book will free you from the matrix. The physical copy is right down here. The free version is a link at the top of the page. That'll take you to an audio book. Either way, if you read that book and apply the book, it will change your life forever. I love you all. Peace.
He said a lot of things that were extremely fascinating. Although the only book that you need to read that will change your life forever is not a novel. It's the Bible. Babylon never went away. It just went into hiding. It operated in secret. It's only until recently that we've realized, or people started talking about the idea that we are in a Babylonian system to this day. I'm just going to preface this video by saying this is all speculation and these are her opinions. We are not necessarily here to agree with her 100% or say that what she's saying is fact, but it's an interesting train of thought.
Really gets cremated. Are you there? Do you physically? You guys aren't ready to hear this. I know I wasn't. After finding out what I just found out, you're never going to be the same again. Did you guys know they already have a solution for overpopulation, climate control, and greenhouse effect? TikTok, this video is for entertainment purposes only. Everything I'm about to say in this video is satire. Nothing I'm about to say in this video is real, and I have no facts to back any of this up. You guys, what happens every single day without fail? It's inevitable. It happens every 3 to 8 seconds. It never takes a day off. They're calling it people for people. I'll try to be discreet. They have been preaching forever now that we are running out of resources. That if something huge and drastic doesn't happen soon, none of us are going to be around to talk about it. After all, never waste a good crisis, right? They create a food crisis, normalize it, and execute. It makes sense, and it's the only way to explain it. It explains how every fast food restaurant, grocery store can pump out as many burgers and products as they do. Who's to say your loved one really gets cremated? Are you there? Do you physically see them bury your loved one? What about people that die from epidemics, war, famine? Millions of people have died from all of these. Where are the full cemeteries? You don't see any because they don't exist. All I'm saying is the math ain't mathin'. Reality is always stranger than fiction. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. You guys aren't ready to hear this. I know.
Okay, though, she kind of got me on the last part about the cemeteries. I've been thinking my whole life, what is the percentage of people who are cremated versus who are buried? And why do we never see a full cemetery? Let me know what you guys think. Am I losing it? I could be. Trust me, I can take it. This next one, she says a whole lot without actually saying much. And to all of my ladies, you're going to know exactly what she's talking about pretty quick.
I'm gonna be real with you guys. I fell into the TikTok shop trap again and I ordered this shower head, but it's important to keep in mind I ordered it when I was single. I'm trying to not give too much away here. The majority of my audience
she already gave it away.
So I've had this thing for a really long time. It's one of the ones that like is supposed to increase water pressure because it has the little beads inside. And don't get me wrong, it helps, but it's just not. I just have a feeling about this one. Hold on, I want to make sure it's in the stop position before I turn it on. Oh my god, there's so many different switches. Okay, hold on.
Dumb.
Oh, it's in the stop position. Oh, okay, it's spraying now. Okay, hold on. And so that's like the rainfall. Wait.
I mean, it's a nice shower
that's
head.
It doing both. And then that's, but that. You know what I'm...
Listen, if your mind went to the right place, which was the wrong place, leave a winky face in the comments.
Fans are saying that this is the most demonic concert they have ever attended. Before I show you actual footage of Rima's concert, this is the trailer that he dropped before the concert started.
There are so many new rappers, I cannot keep track.
jumps into a portal of fire and then onto a horse. The trailer fades, then the intro of the concert begins and a black cage is lifted off of him. Members in the audience were so shocked that they started to record saying, "I was genuinely scared for my life." This woman said that it felt like he was doing a ritual, and I don't blame her. The way the dancers were dancing, he was screaming and speaking words that no one could understand. I'll play you the noises he was making at the end, but he then starts to get on this demonic looking bat. The visuals then started to show demonic looking figures and skeletons and bodies burning. You have to realize this concert is very dark and the only color it's flashing is red. With all of this dark symbolism, everyone said that they felt extremely drained.
That doesn't even sound like pleasant in the slightest. And they claim art, right? But like, why does art have to be demonic? You're full of crap, bro. Like, it's not art. You're pushing an agenda, and your fans were tired because whatever demon you're representing fed off of all of their energy. We have another great video from Jesse Bean, proof of the Bible outside of the Bible.
This is crazy. This guy literally just found evidence of the Bible outside of the Bible. Let's go ahead and play it.
So here we are in the Egyptian Museum. This is the Merneptah stele. So on this side is the most famous name found in this entire inscription, which is right down here, the name Israel. It's agreed upon that this says Israel. And this is the earliest mention of the name Israel found outside of the Bible. The inscription of Merneptah dates to around 1210 BC. The inscription describes who Merneptah and his army fought with in Canaan. The translation reads, "Canaan is plundered, Ashkelon is conquered, Gezer is seized, Yanoam is made non-existent, Israel is laid waste." Ashkelon, Gezer, and Yanoam are followed by the city-state symbol. These three city-states were ruled by kings. There is no city-state symbol shown for the name Israel. Instead, the symbol for a foreign people is shown. This means that in 1210 BC, Israel is described as a people that has not yet formed into a nation and therefore is without a king. According to biblical chronology, the date 1210 BC falls in the Judges period, where we find in the book of Judges this repeating phrase, "In those days, Israel had no king." This is yet another example of the details in the Bible being verified through the details of an inscription dug up through archaeology.
And, you know, once again, oh, but the Bible's been changed. Translated, transliterated from Hebrew and Greek. A little bit different than changed. Now, there are versions of the Bible that are bad translations of texts and scrolls that were found to be inaccurate, such as the Geneva Bible, which was based off of 3 texts that were considered to be superior than the 500 that King James, and well, obviously not him himself, but the one that he had commissioned was based off of over 500 texts that agreed. Right? All of those texts said the same thing. But the 3 that the Geneva Bible were based off of were different in small ways, but just enough to pervert the actual message. And that is why people swear on that particular Bible, the King James Bible. Obviously, the apocryphal texts are not in it. Everything required for salvation is, though. And if you're interested in reading those texts, they are everywhere, so you can just buy them and read them. It's really a non-issue that they're not in the Bible at this point. You know, guys, we really are reaching the end They put a satanic altar in the Iowa State Capitol building. Like, and the funny thing is there's people who are outraged that this guy attacked and beheaded this statue. Like, I think he did the right thing. What do you think?
Have you seen the satanic altar featuring Baphomet that was put up at the Iowa State Capitol building for the holidays? Well, you can't see it anymore because a former Navy pilot just beheaded it and took it all down. Here's a photo of what it looks like now after the Baphomet was beheaded and the Satan altar was torn down. This is Michael Cassidy, the former Navy pilot, and he told the outlet that he destroyed the altar on Thursday to, quote, awaken Christians to the anti-Christian acts promoted by our government. Quote, I saw this blasphemous statue and was outraged. My conscience is held captive to the word of God, not to bureaucratic decree, and so I acted. Cassidy turned himself into officers who were present in the building who confirmed that the Satanic Temple of Iowa seeks to press charges. Cassidy was charged with fourth-degree criminal mischief. The display was permitted to be in the Capitol building for 2 weeks and featured a mirrored caped statue of a Baphomet, complete with a black and red holiday wreath with a pentagram in the center. As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
Do you think that that statue belongs in that building? I want to know. Because, you know, they pushed so hard to take prayer out of schools and separate, you know, government from religion. But now they want to push for the satanic religion to be normalized in schools and government buildings. It's wild.
You know what the darkest conspiracy theory about aliens is?
I don't know if I'm ready for it.
That Earth is essentially a farm, and human beings are the vessels that contain souls, and they want us because this is how they create souls. And so they're farming us. They've created us. Mm-hmm. So we started off as primates, and through some sort of genetic intervention, I'm not saying I believe this. I'm just saying that this is like top of the food chain, put your tinfoil hat on super tight.
Super tight.
They farm us. And that the whole reason why human beings are involved in this conflict, constant conflict, it's all of it is to increase our competition with each other, increase our ability to control resources, which will increase our technology, which will ultimately lead to us creating this being that we're going to create, this artificially intelligent super god. You know what the darkest conspiracy?
I would say that it's possible that somebody out there has that as an idea. And it's possible that that idea could have been given to them from a fallen angel. I wouldn't doubt that the name alien itself was given to a human by a fallen angel. They're probably lying to them the entire time. There's probably people who think that they talk to aliens on a daily basis and just have no concept of it being an actual angelic being. And if you notice, they've slowly like moved the goalpost, right? Like first it was aliens, and now they like to use the term interdimensional beings. And as I've said before, they're not really lying because angels are interdimensional.
Is NASA rooted in Satanism?
Yes.
Well, I was just scrolling around one day and I realized that NASA has done something on July 16th every year since the Apollo 11 mission, and maybe even before then. But you ever wonder that T- thing you hear before the rocket launches? Maybe it's just Satan minus the T, and that's NASA? And I'm sure you've seen all the snake memes out there, but check this out. I've been searching to find where July 16th has any significance other than the Apollo missions, and guess what I found? It's World Snake Day. Not National Snake Day, but World Snake Day, where people get together and worship and celebrate the serpent. And look at that logo. Oh yeah, it's a globe with a satanic snake wrapped around it. Yeah, this symbol is rooted in the occult and Freemasonry and Luciferianism and all that stuff. Hey, how'd this get in here? So do you think NASA's paying homage to this slithery serpent? Get out of here! The celebration of reptiles. It don't look good, NASA, when all these things add up. Ooh, those slithery snakes. I'm sure after seeing all this, you're asking yourself the same question. Is NASA...
Well, when NASA means to deceive in Hebrew, it definitely brings to question the purpose of their creation.
Hey, maybe Tekashi was onto something.
You think Snoop Dogg is a rat? What you mean by that? Look at this camera. Because Snoop Dogg got an order protection on Suge Knight. What you mean he got an order protection? He got an order protection on Suge Knight in the 90s.
Well, Snoop would never come. You know, we beat a murder trial for him, but then he was on probation. Then he got caught with guns. And each time it's nothing. They're not going to violate him. That's because he's an informant. He's a rat, a snitch.
You guys know?
I think, in fact, I am almost, I'd say 98% sure that it's not that he's a snitch, but that his father is a major owner in the United States prison system. It's a little bit different. He's more of a agent than a snitch.
About Snoop's altercation with Tupac right before his death?
They went to Vegas, and I didn't want to go to Vegas because the vibe wasn't right. So I went to Warren G's house.
There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy, or none of them. We're not sweating it like that. This is our family. We peacefully coexist. This is our family. We peacefully coexist.
Tupac said there's no dream of making music with Bad Boy Records. Snoop Dogg agrees. But the very next day, Snoop goes on a radio show and says this.
So I ain't got no issues with Puffy and Biggie. I want to do a song with the niggas.
Why did you say that?
Because that's how I feel.
Which really makes you question the relationship between these two. Because look at this video call right after he gets the ownership of Death Row Records.
Congratulations, King. And great move, great move, great move. You taught me how to play chess, not checkers. Oh, man. One of my greatest students. Every time we sit down with each other, we chop it up, and then we go our separate ways. I'm watching. I'm trying to make you proud. Yeah, man, I'm super proud. I was like...
Because nobody thought we would show up here.
You taught me how to play chess, not checkers.
There's no dream of making an album with Biggie and Puffy.
This is our family.
We peacefully coexist. This is our family. We peacefully coexist.
Decision that I made to live. So I ain't got no issues with Puffy and Biggie. I want to do a song with the niggas.
I'm trying to make you proud. You taught me how to play chess.
Gee, that's interesting. You mean these rap beefs are not real? Shocking. Now, this next one points out some very interesting symbolism in a movie, and I'm not sure what movie this is. If you know, put it in the comments.
The legendary city of Agartha, at the center of the earth. And at the center of that, the Vrilya. Unfortunately, the place is crawling with Vril. And I'm not hugely fond of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids. This should be interesting.
Did you catch that?
Oh, yes, I
Do you
did.
notice how they set up the angle for their meal to resemble the Last Supper? Was it to mock it or an innocent mistake? What do you think? TikTok, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Totally excellent. Well, it certainly has been an interesting last few millennium. With this whole infiltrate the upper echelon of human society and manipulate them into destroying each other. Now, we might have just gone a little heavy on the political realm. Oh my God, and a little sucky, you know. Who knew that social media was gonna work? That was brilliant. Everyone too wrapped up in cat videos and sending to procreate instead of think with their brains. Very nice. Sure helped with my case during the elections. And you two crazy kids with your crusades, nothing like a little monotheism to throw people into centuries of battles over exactly the same ideology.
Wow. There seems to be far more truth thrown into fiction than any news channel today.
Things humans weren't meant to see. A man traveled to Egypt and placed a remote-controlled car inside one of the pyramids. The original poster claimed to have found something the government would want to keep a secret. He also wanted to be paid $5 million for the rest of the footage to be revealed, but it never did. As it gets deeper, it shows what appears to be a tall figure inside the chambers.
The picture started
Things humans
fuzzing
weren't
up
meant
too.
to see.
Did you see that? Like there was some sort of electromagnetic disturbance, or right before it showed that figure. Creepy things celebrities have said.
They're not prosthetics. They're my bones. They come out when I'm inspired. They've always been inside of me. But I have been waiting for the right time to reveal to the universe who I truly am, Lady Gaga.
Listen, if that is natural, you don't have to tell us who you are. We know.
My placenta. My mum found in my basement, crushed up, and made into a necklace that I wear every day to improve my psychic abilities, Kasha.
She's so weird.
I used to have a folder called Demons that had pictures with all the screen caps in it. But then weird things started happening to me, so I deleted it. Ariana Grande. I love the smell of diapers. I even like when they're wet, and you smell them all warm like a baked good, Sarah Jessica Parker. They're not
No. What the heck? Now, this next one, I think a lot of the highly motivated family is going to relate to. I know we have talked about toxic relationships, and I've definitely read some of the stories in the comments that you guys have written to me. And so this is ways that God uses toxic relationships.
There are 5 reasons why God allowed you to go through a toxic, abusive relationship. Reason number 1, to bring out any unhealed trauma from your past. Yes, people out there are wicked, evil. I don't know, they also have their own traumas and their own troubles. But we have to understand that we also have to take accountability for what we allow into our lives. And so it's important that we go to the Lord. If you're dealing with a toxic person, you go to Him and ask Him, Lord, why do I allow this treatment? Why do I allow this person to belittle me or manipulate or gaslight me or just simply cheat on me? Why do I let this happen? And so let God show you why. He will bring out unhealed trauma from your past, and then you just have to allow Him to heal you so that it doesn't continue to happen. Reason number 2 is going to be to help you fully depend on God. If you are codependent on this person, and we'll talk more in depth about it, so follow. If you find that you are codependent, you have to understand God wants you to fully depend on Him, not on other people. He wants you to know that He cares for you and He is trustworthy. Reason number 3 is going to be to refine, to strengthen you. God will use this relationship to have you running to Him. So when we feel like the person we love so much is not there for us, we run to God. Run
Yes,
to God.
we
He
do.
wants you to run to Him. He wants to strengthen you, refine you. He wants you to see your worth. He wants you to see and find your identity in Christ. Reason number 4 is going to be to break a generational curse. This was deep. If your family, if your parent went through a toxic abusive relationship and they didn't learn what they had to learn, they didn't heal the wounds they had to heal after leaving that person or after that ended, it's gonna fall on you. It is gonna be on you to break the curse. That doesn't mean that God is not gonna allow you to go through the relationship, but it is what you do with that. It is how you heal. It is how much you let God in your life after this relationship, after this heartbreak, that is going to break the curse. And number 5 is going to be to bring you closer to Him. So I feel like they all tie together. But
They do,
God
and they
really just
should.
wants your heart. He wants to have you because He knows that if He has your heart, that if He has you surrendered, you're going to experience life so much differently. And He wants that for you. Here are.
You know, I really think that a lot of the people in my generation we're the ones that are breaking these generational curses. Now, do you think that he is joking to disguise the truth or actually kidding?
How do you do it? I look on Twitter, there you are. Facebook, there you are. Television, there you are. How do you do it?
I have a clone.
I was going to say that. There's 2 of you.
Cat's out the bag. Okay? It's about a good 3 of me. We broke it. They didn't want to release it yet. This is major news that I'm giving you.
All right.
I'm the first.
Take a look at this photo of Kevin in front of a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda. He bought this for himself for his 40th birthday almost 2 months ago. Well, take a look at what that car looks like now after the accident early Sunday morning.
Yeah, so the accident happened at about 12:45 in the morning. Kevin was actually not driving the car, but was in the passenger seat. A friend of...
Do you see that passenger seat? Does that look like something someone could easily walk away from? I mean, or live to tell about?
But the Great Pyramid is an amazing structure. By far the largest building on the planet today. Still, largest building in the world. Built bigger than anything ever built by man since. Some people think the Isaiah 19:19 passage is referring to the pyramid. It says, "In that day there shall be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof. And it shall be for a sign and a witness." There are quite a few folks who think that the pyramid is this is it. Because their teaching goes that Egypt split into 2 kingdoms, northern and southern kingdom, and they were fighting in civil war kind of stuff, and this pyramid is right on the border. And then when they united, it's now in the midst thereof. So it is both at the border and in the midst. Otherwise, how could a building be that way? Now, of course, the Jehovah's Witnesses have gone crazy with the pyramid. There are all kinds of books by Jehovah's Witnesses thinking, oh, this prophesies everything and proves Jehovah's Witnesses are right, you know. And they kind of take it to real wild extremes. And there are many books available on the pyramid, some of which are absolutely loony. But it's very interesting reading. The pyramid is a huge building. It goes up 4 sides to the top, and the top stone was never installed. If you look at the diagram here, there's only 1 door into the pyramid. Nobody could find the door until 800 AD. That pyramid sat there for thousands of years, and nobody could find their way in. Finally, in 800 AD, some Arabs got a hammer and chisel and just started pounding a hole, chiseled their way into the pyramid. They chiseled and chiseled for months. And the guy kept telling his workers, oh, there's going to be lots of gold in here. You're all going to be rich, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, finally, after months and months of chiseling, everybody's getting tired of going in, you know, digging a hole in the rock, okay, because it was solid rock. Finally, they were close to giving up, and they heard a noise of a rock falling. And he said, oh, it came from over that way. Let's chisel there. They chiseled over, and they hit one of the passages in the middle, and then had to work their way backwards to find the door. Had they known where it was, they could have walked up and just pushed it right open. But nobody could find this door for centuries.
And it was just there.
Well, once they found the pyramid and mapped it out, you see it's got an entrance where the A is. The entrance, only one entrance in. It immediately takes you on the broad road down to the pit, letter C. Or you can take a choice to make a turn and go up Channel E there, up the narrow road that goes to the King's Chamber. So your choice is the broad way that leads to the pit or the narrow way that leads to the King's Chamber.
Shut up.
Well, that'll preach. It sounds like there's a little gospel in there somewhere, right? If you get to the King's Chamber, you find yourself in an empty tomb where nobody ever rotted, no bodies decomposed in there, and it's on the 50th row of stones. What's that all mean? I don't know. There's a grand gallery that some people think has marks along the way, that in those marks, if they go by pyramid inches, which is a little bigger than our inch, the pyramid inch, they say each one marks a year, and they say on this grand gallery that it's got marked off where World War I is, World War II, major events through world history are supposedly marked off in the grand gallery. That's some of the stuff you read in these books when you read about the pyramid. It's the largest building by far. It contains enough stone to build a 10-foot high brick wall all the way around Texas, or France. They're about the same size. 10-foot high brick wall around Texas. The top of the pyramid is 455 feet high. The 50th row of stones, which is interesting, the 50th year jubilee, the 50th row of stones is where the King's Chamber is. And those who teach that the pyramid has Christian symbolism, of course, will jump on this type of thing, the broad way, the narrow way, you know, the King's Chamber, etc.
Right.
Or you go down to the pit. In the King's Chamber is an empty tomb. I was told, I didn't check it out, maybe it's not correct, but it has the same volume, this empty tomb, as the Ark of the Covenant. You take the length times the width times the height, it equals the volume of the Ark of the Covenant. Maybe somebody can check it out, let me know if that's correct. But originally, the pyramid was covered by 144,000 smooth, polished casing stones. Each one weighed about, I believe they said 10 tons were the casing stones. They fit together so tightly, in many cases you couldn't even find the seam. And in all cases, I was told, you can't even get a piece of paper between them. Wow. Imagine a 10-ton stone fitting together with the next one so tightly, you can't even get paper between it. No mortar. I mean, today we build brick walls and put mortar in there, and you can look at the brick on the house here, and some of them are straight and some of them are not too straight. You know,
I mean,
bricklayers getting a little...
Wouldn't you call that laser precision? I am of the camp that believes that they had this technology back then, and they could cut stones with laser.
A bit of a hurry. These stones are massive, and they didn't even use mortar, and they fit together flawlessly. And the top stone was never installed. And those who teach it's a Christian building or Christian principles in there say 144,000, Revelation chapter 7, 144,000. Bible talks about the whole body fitly joined together, and they'll say, see, this is evidence that has some Christian symbolism. Maybe it does, I don't know. Ephesians chapter 4, the whole body fitly joined together. Matthew 21 talks about the stone that the builders rejected. Now, the Great Pyramid never did have a chief cornerstone. Imagine the largest, neatest building on the planet, no cornerstone. Why would they stop one rock short? Why didn't they finish the job?
Wow, that's
well,
a lot of symbolism.
There's a couple theories about that, but in Mark 12 it talks about the scripture says, the stone that the builders rejected. Luke 20, the stone that the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner. This is obviously referring to Jesus Christ. In Daniel, it tells about the stone that was cut out of the mountain without hands and smote the image on the feet in the book of Daniel. Could this stone be Jesus Christ, who's going to make his own kingdom on the world? Revelation 21 talks about the New Jerusalem coming down from God out of heaven. There are those who teach that the New Jerusalem, the city, and the Bible tells us the great city, the holy Jerusalem descending out of heaven, will be clear as crystal, 4 square, and 12,000 furlongs. That's 1,379 miles. So there's going to be a city in Revelation 21 that is 1,300 or 1,400 miles by 1,400 miles by 1,400 miles. And everybody assumes it's going to be a cube. Maybe so, I don't know. But maybe it's a pyramid, because that's a structure that could also have those dimensions, and it would lie 4 square. And if it's a pyramid, pyramids only have 1 cornerstone right on top, whereas other buildings would have 4. So there are those who teach that the Great Pyramid is going, the New Jerusalem is going to be in the shape of a great pyramid, and Jesus Christ is the chief cornerstone, and he is the light of the world. And if the whole thing's clear as crystal, then the light just kind of translucent, the light goes right through. So he is the light thereof. The first 13 verses in the Bible starts off with this, the world has light, but it has no sun. The last 26 verses of the Bible, the world has light, but it has no sun. He is the light thereof. And so maybe the pyramid is symbolic of that. I don't know. Noah Hutchins got a good book on that if you want to read it. And of course, if any of this is true, It's obvious Satan would use this as a, pervert it for his use, and the Great Pyramid on the back of your dollar bill is a Masonic Lodge symbol, which has 13 rows of stones representing the 13 degrees in the Blue Lodge. The chief cornerstone is not yet in place, and many people say this represents Lucifer, and he's going to come down and establish his kingdom, when actually, God's going to establish his kingdom toward the end. But
right.
Which one's right? I don't know. I kind of lead toward number one, but I wouldn't be dogmatic. The Bible isn't.
Lucifer is the false light. The idea that the Great Pyramid is symbolic for the narrow way and our chief cornerstone is amazing. Something I've definitely never heard before. What about you guys? Get ready to have your mind blown.
Check this video out because they just found the ancient remains of Noah and his family. Let's go ahead and play it.
They know to be Noah's ancient home. And the reason they know this is because there's a marker outside of these ruins. It's a giant stone with an inscription of a rainbow. Underneath the rainbow is a ship with animals coming off of it. And then there are 8 carved crosses representing 8 people that came off of the ark. And this was taken from a site that was a dug-up grave at those ancient ruins of Noah's home.
And those are the finger bones.
That is one single finger, and this is a regular-sized woman's hand next to the finger, so that gives you an idea of how large that person's hand had to be.
Was this Mrs. Noah's finger?
It is believed that this was the grave of Mrs. Noah, and that is Mrs. Noah's finger.
And her name would have been Joan of Arc.
Right.
Yeah, okay. What is this bone here now? This is a thumb bone?
This is a thumb bone. Now, this is not connected to the Noah's Ark location. This was taken from another place in the Middle East, but that's an example. That's a real bone of how large somebody's thumb was, and you can see it in comparison next to Mary's thumb. It's a lot larger. This toe bone has been examined by multiple actual scientists.
Wow, that's a toe?
None of them are willing to come out and say publicly that this is a toe bone because of backlash from the community. But every one of them said undeniably 100% this is a human toe bone.
It's a toe bone.
But see, the guy would have to be 15 feet tall to have a toe.
He would. Yeah, and that's sitting in the palm of my hand. I have a pretty big hand, as you can see. That's in the palm of it. So that person would have to be easily 12 to 14 feet tall. And not only would their bones have to be longer, but they would have to be wider to sustain that much weight.
Sure, but it was a different world back then.
Yes.
We know there were giant reptiles. We find the bones all over dinosaurs. They find fossil cockroaches 2 feet long. They find fossil dragonflies, 2 foot wingspan.
Hell no.
Fossil grasshoppers 2 feet long. Why can they admit there was giant everything else and can't admit there were giant humans?
It would prove the scripture as a truth.
Check this.
Because then they have to admit that the Nephilim was a real story and the fallen angels are real, which does what? Makes God real. And the last thing that they want to have to admit without a shadow of a doubt is that God is real.
Greetings, Royal Family. I want to go over these words, some of these English words. I want to start with pharmacy. Let's break it down starting with pH. pH denotes the potential of hydrogen. It's a scale used to specify the acidity or basicity of an aqueous solution. And basicity is alkaline. And the aqueous solution is you, us. We're made of mostly water. So it's important to maintain a healthy pH balance. When we are first born, our alkaline levels are perfectly balanced. But as we get older, things interfere with that pH balance. The foods we eat, the things that we drink, everything, the air that we breathe, everything that we consume affects our body. Everything affects this avatar. So it's important to maintain that pH balance. Nothing should want to affect that. But when some of us get sick, when our pH is off, we go to the doctor. We go see what's wrong. The doctor prescribes us some medicine. So we go to the pharmacy. And we get the pharmacist the prescription. The pharmacist fills it and gives you medicine that comes from a pharmaceutical company. Let's look at the word pharmacy. Let's break that down. Pharmacy. A medicine that rids the body of an excess of humors, except blood. Also, treatment with medicine theory of treatment with medicine. Theory, huh?
Theory.
For those of you who may not remember, this is a theory, an idea. It's suggested.
Oh, not
it's
a fact.
possibly true, but it's not known or proven to be true.
Oh,
but there's a possibility that it may be. That's a theory.
Possibility.
Here are some Greek translations of it. Preparer of drugs, poisoner, sorcerer. They some magicians or something, man. What's going on? They using magic on us, man. Here's this one. This is Big Pharma. This the drug pushers. The biggest drug dealers ever. Right here.
Yes, that's right.
That's what that is. Let's focus on that word, poisoner. We know what poison is. Come on. So when our pH balance is off, and we go to the doctor, and we go to these poisoners, we go to these enchanters, these sorcerers, we go see them to try so they can give us something to make us feel better. All they're doing is continuing to harm us. Look at that. An infant is highly alkaline. An 80-year-old person is highly acid. And death is 100% acidity. Boy,
wow.
That's the end game there. That's the end game. So we're getting sicker, and these people are just getting richer. The name says it all. They do not.
You know, there is nothing like going into the etymology of a word to find out what's really being said. Them, how was your 2023?
To the wall, till the sweat drops down my balls. Until all these bitches crawl. Ah, skeet, skeet, goddamn. Getting crunk in the club she's working. I like to see them females working. Taking their clothes off, buck and naked, ATL.
What's funnier, the song in the background or what's happening to those people? There is a new theory about Doja Cat and the late Matthew Perry that suggests that she may have had something to do with his demise.
This is gonna make you feel crazy. Doja Cat might have had something to do with what happened to him. After Matthew's tragic passing, Doja Cat deleted all of her videos except for this one. So obviously the comments on that video are crazy. People are like, what? Did you have something to do with this? She now deletes the video. There's nothing up now. Take a closer look at this logo and you'll see that something is off. Now the word friends is 7 letters, and in between each letter is a dot that represents each of the friends. You can see how it correlates to each one here. The dot in between the D and the E is gone. Why is one of them missing? This is just a conspiracy theory. I like talking about conspiracy theories. This is not a disrespectful thing. And this was a promotion for her new music video called Demons. And we all know how she's been recently, and all of the other conspiracy theories. Now I get that Friends is a popular TV show, but like the timing's really weird. You can't deny that. Everything is intentional. How would this have been an error? Think about the kind of team she has. How would they forget the first dot? But the promotional photo came out exactly 2 months before what happened to him. And you remember he did all these weird Instagram posts right before he passed away. Yes, I made a post about that if you don't know what I'm talking about. Like, all of this weird stuff makes you wonder if he saw it coming. If you like my content, follow my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for more. It really helps when you interact. This is...
And, you know, if you're really into, you know, going down the rabbit holes... Did he pass away? Or did they just unalive one of his clones? And now the real Mr. Perry is going to live out his life in Cuba or some other foreign country where his fans would never see him? I mean, it could be. At this point, I'm telling you, if you can think it, it could be possible. Now, this actually happened to this girl. I honestly, I don't know what the hell I would do if this happened to me.
2 nights ago, I went to Subway. I ordered a sub. Kind of weird interaction. Go into the parking lot to eat it, and I noticed that the I'm like, oh, the parking lot just smells like sewage. I'm like, okay, so I had a bite and I took it home to eat it there. I go and take a bite and I smell the exact same shit. Look in the papers in between the two wrappers on the sandwich is literal shit. There's feces. We're not sure if it's dog or if it's human. Right now it's like the police like took a swab of it and whatnot, and public health is working on it and trying to figure it out. I messaged Subway the night it happened, put like an online complaint in, hoping someone would reach out. I called corporate like 5 times the next day, and all they told me is that I had to wait for someone to respond to my online complaint about there being literal shit on my food. And they haven't responded yet at all. I've heard absolutely nothing from them. I posted 2 videos about it. The first one got some views. The second one, after 2 hours of it being up, still had 0. I think now it's at like 5 views maybe or so. So I have no idea what to do. I have an appointment Monday to try to find like a lawyer or someone to talk to, because I ate it. I ate a bite of it. The second bite, I spit that one out, but I don't know what to do.
No.
I haven't been able to eat really since then. I've been so incredibly nauseous just from the thought of food. Oh my god. I don't know what to do. So if anyone does, like, please help. Either like help me contact Subway, like help them see it, reach out to me, something. I don't know. I haven't even gotten a refund for that meal, so
she said I didn't even get a refund. You have way bigger problems than a refund. I don't even know. I don't feel like I could get my mouth clean ever again after that. Oh my gosh, what? Hell is real. Absolutely.
So there's a specific place where hell is on earth. In the Bible, Jesus said one of my disciples named Antipas would die and be martyred, right? Now, Saint Antipas was martyred and he was killed in, you know, that torture bowl? So they put somebody in like a metal bowl and like boil them alive. Yeah, that happened in Geneva, Switzerland. People are saying Geneva, Switzerland is the literal place of hell. Is literally the portal to hell, or that's at least where the devil resides, because that's what it says in the Bible. Now check this out. Do you know what else is in Geneva, Switzerland? What? CERN. Oh. CERN headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland, and the CERN logo is what? Six, fam. CERN is working on particle generation and messing with matter of the universe to tear our dimension with the supernatural and the natural, fam. Yeah. So what in theory? They're trying to open the portal to hell, bro.
You know, that's very reminiscent of what they called the upside down in Stranger Things. And again, another show that's for entertainment with glimmers of truth in it. All right, guys, we have time for one more video, and this is a bit of a personal revelation that this man had regarding things that he's read in the Bible. He made some very interesting connections, and I really thought that you guys would enjoy them.
I have a haunting, if not disturbing, question for you. A lot of people like my narrative that the book of Exodus contains the entire New Testament salvation by grace, salvation message. And I believe that's true. But it does lead to a question that I haven't been able to answer, and that kind of keeps me up at night. And so I'm putting this out there to see what you guys think. This is going to be pretty wild. Okay. Now, it's possible I'm just wrong about this, and that Exodus is a meaningless, pointless story that doesn't have anything to do with New Testament salvation by grace, that the blood on the doorway doesn't have anything to do with Jesus, which I think is ridiculous. I think everyone thinks that that's the case, or that that's it. Like that's the only part of the story that has anything to do with New Testament salvation by grace through faith, not works, but for works. But if it does correlate how much of it correlates. And if all of it correlates, there's some things we got to talk about. So the narrative goes that we're born into slavery under Pharaoh, overseen by the guards in Egypt, right? And that represents being born into sin in Satan's world, like under Satan, overseen by the demons, slaves to sin, 40 hours a week, 40 years in the desert. You get the idea. But the burning bush talks to Moses and Aaron, which represents the Father, telling Jesus and the Holy Spirit to come to earth, to go to Egypt, to fight Pharaoh, which is fight the devil, to free the captives, which is us. It's all about New Testament salvation by grace. Even the miracles line up with the plagues, right? The first plague is water to blood. Jesus' first miracle is water to wine. The last miracle is the death of the firstborn and the resurrection. Again, same thing with the plague, right? The death of the firstborn, Passover. Now, this is why salvation is a one-time gift. It's not something you continually earn. It's not something you ever earned. When the angel of death, which is the wages of sin, passes up the door because of the blood of the Lamb, not based on the virtue of the person inside, this represents salvation. And the angel of death doesn't come around a second time. And so you can't lose salvation. But you still have to endure until the end. You still have to follow Moses out through the Red Sea, which represents following Jesus out through baptism. Then you end up in the desert, right? This is the Christian walk. This is crawling back into your mother's womb, as Nicodemus called it. The Sinai Peninsula even looks like a woman's reproductive organ if you look at it. I might be stretching that, but I mean, God designed this place for a specific reason, and all creation testifies. I don't know. I think God's trying to tell us something. Anyways, they circle around the desert for 40 years. And in that time, they live on bread and water, which represents us living on the Word and the Holy Spirit. And then they have kids. So the second generation goes in, and the first generation dies, right? And so they cross over the Jordan, and that's it. That means rebirth, crossing through the waters, that second baptism into the promised land, right? And if the story represents New Testament salvation by grace and the path that we are on, which I think it does, crossing the Jordan and going to the promised land is heaven. That means leaving this world, going through the chasm, and going to heaven, right? As I've said before, we even have to sneak into heaven, and they had to sneak into the promised land. They literally sent spies in. But here's the problem. If the promised land represents us going to heaven, who are the giants? And are we going to have to fight them in heaven? If the Israelites passing through the desert, going into the promised land to fight giants, is us going through this life, leaving it and going into heaven to fight something, like what are they? What are the giants that we have to fight? And are we going to go to heaven and have to clear the land and fight heaven, like fight our way through heaven to inherit it?
Or another thought, could these giants be symbolic of all of the, stumbling blocks and barriers that are put in our way by the evil one?
It's a very wild thing. We all think we're going to heaven to relax and chill. We might be going there for war. We might be going there to clear out the inhabitants. We might be going there to fight these proverbial giants. Relying on the strength of God, of course, as they did then. And it's interesting because it's like, well, no, that's a repeat of the story. In other words, Exodus is its own deal from Pharaoh onto the promised land, and then it ends. And in the promised land, the story repeats, right? And so the giants now represent the captives, right? Meaning it's a repetition of the same story. It stops there. The giants represent the new captives, which is like the Egyptians, and then it starts all over and goes through the same elements. That's true. It does do that. But what if there are giants in heaven and we have to fight them when we get there? Good luck sleeping tonight.
I mean, It's an interesting train of thought. I always have a good time going down these little like thought experiment rabbit holes. And I love it when people get into the word and they start making connections and the Holy Spirit starts revealing things that you didn't see before. And I've said this before, but you can read it in the same book 500 times and you're still going to get something new all the time. There's no other book like it. And obviously not, because no other book is the Word of God. Well, guys, that is the show for today. If you made it to the end, do me a favor and throw a star in the comments so I know who you are. And I've got one more video for you guys before the holiday comes, so I will be back very soon. Until next time, stay prayed up and stay highly motivated.